So for this video, we're going to make an average for a shot put throwing program where you've got 3 throws and we want to know the total and we also want to know the average of each throw. I'm purposely going to make some errors. In the end, it's going to be a perfect working version, but in the beginning, I'm going to make some errors to show you things that students do that may cause you some problems. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to calculate the total of text box 1 plus text box 2 plus text box 3, and I'm going to use some variables. So the way I would create variables is I would make a variable called DBL, because it's a double variable, so I use the lower 3 case letters DBL, and I'll call the variable throw1. I'm going to do the same thing for the other 2 throws. And a quick way, I'll just copy and paste and then just change it to double throw 2, which is a different name, and double throw number 3, which is a different name. Finally, I'll create a variable called DBL total. And the reason I use double is because double allows me to have decimals. Okay. Finally, I'm going to start typing in some code. And I'm going to say DBL throw1 oh, it's not even going to let me make a mistake. Notice I tried to spell it wrong. And as soon as I press the space, throw1 would be a different variable than capital T throw1. But as soon as I press space, Visual Basic corrects that error. So I can't even make that mistake I was going to. So this will work out just fine. So throw1 is going to equal me dot textbox1 dot text. But I don't actually want it to equal that because me dot textbox1 dot text is a string. And so I want it to be the value of what's in the text box. So what I'm going to type in is 3 letters, VAL, and I put in brackets what I want to turn into a value. So by putting VAL, it's going to turn text box 1 into a number. If I didn't do that, watch what would happen. I'll leave it out for a second, and I'll see if I can get another error to happen here. So I'm going to say throw number 2 is equal to text box 2. Throw number 3 is going to equal text box 3. And because this is a double, it probably will actually fix the error. But I could say LBL display.text, the text that's going to be in the display, is going to equal DBL throw 1 plus throw number 2 plus throw number 3. And let's see what happens if I press play here. I press play and I'm going to put a 3, a 2, and a 3, and it actually does the right answer. Okay, what happens if I put 3 with a space in front? Same thing, it still manages to figure it out. How about if I put a couple spaces in front of the 2? Still seems to work fine. Okay, so it's actually fixed that problem. But to be more correct, what I normally would do, in older versions of Visual Basic, it would actually, instead of adding 3 plus 2 plus 3, it would add, the answer would be 323. It would put the character 3, the character 2, and the character 3. But in this version, it does fix that issue. Okay, so I've got, I put the val, and this will force it into being a number. So for example, if I press play, and if I put a 3, I put the letter A there and a 2, the value of A would be 0. So it'll just add 3 and 2, and it should display 5, and it displays 5, which is fine. Okay, so that's one way that we could do it. So that error is not going to work, but that's okay. Instead, I'm going to say double total equals throw 1 plus 3. Let's work on the average. So to do average, what I would do is I would say what I would say is me dot label display to do average would be the total divided by 3. So let's try this out, and you can see it's already got a bit of a problem here. So when I press play, oh shoot, it won't let me do this. But when I press play, it says, okay, the variable's not declared. Shoot, okay, let's declare it. So I go here and I go dim DBL total as double. Great, error's gone. Perfect, I think I fixed it. So I press play, and suppose I throw a 3 the first throw, second throw is a 2, and the third throw is a 3. The total would be 8, which is 3 plus 2 plus 3. That's perfect. But average, oh, 0. Why did average not work? Well, the reason is because of something called the scope of a variable. Visual Basic, when we make a variable, in here I create a variable called throw1, throw2, throw3, and total, double total. And that variable is going to exist in here because that's where I declared it. But as soon as we go end sub, the variable's destroyed. We can no longer access that variable. So down here, when I say declare a variable total, that's a different variable. So I can't, it's equal to 0. So label display is the total divided by 3, which is 0 divided by 3 is 0. So that's one problem. So if I want to use the same variable in multiple ones, and we try not to do this, but I'll show you how you could do this, is what I do is in form 1 declarations, I declare the variable right here. So the variable called double total is not declared inside a subroutine. Notice it's outside of the subroutine. It's in the forms declarations. And because of that, it's called a global variable. And again, wherever possible, don't do this, but I'll show you how this would now work according to what we have here. So double is equal to the 3 added up together. And in this procedure here, I divide it by 3, and it will divide it by 3. And watch what happens. When I press play, if I put in a 3 and a 2 and a 3, the total is 8. And when I click average, it actually calculates the average just fine because the variable is declared here. And so when I go end sub, the variable was not destroyed. The variable still exists. Let me just make the text a bit larger. Okay, so that's one reason. Here's why you don't want to do that, though. Why you might want to not do here's one reason why. If I put a 3, a 2, and a 3, in the total button is where I calculate the total. But if I hit average, total had not been calculated because total is calculated in the private sub button total. But if I look down here in average, total had a value of 0 because I hadn't yet clicked the button. So in this program, a problem would happen if I hit average before I hit total. Now I'll hit total, total will be 8, and now when I click average, it will be the right value. So that's one reason why you don't want to declare variables there. Another reason, and a more important reason, is sometimes as programs get complex, you might use the same name in different places, and that can create problems in your program. So wherever possible, we try not to declare a variable in the general declarations. Instead, we declare it here. And if we declared it here, what I would need to do is I would need to put all of this code here into button average. So I do the same thing. I just copy and paste. I reuse code this way. And when I press play this time, if I put 3 and 2 and 3, if I hit average right off the bat, it comes up because I put the code in that was going to calculate the total and do that. Okay, one last issue that people sometimes do is sometimes students will do this, and I'm going to make this error. I'd like to show you this error. So instead, they'll say the average is throw 1 plus throw 2 plus throw 3 divided by 3. And when I press play this time, it's going to be wrong. Watch what happens here. 3 and a 2 and a 3. And I click average, and it says 6. But I know the average should be about 2.6. And what it did, it added 3 and 2, which is 5, and then took the third throw and divided that by 3. When really I want to divide all 3 of them by 3. So what is
all 3 of them in brackets, it should work the way you want it.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put all 3 of them in brackets. So I'm going to take throw 1 plus throw 2 plus throw 3. So I'm going to sum up all 3 of them. And I put it in brackets so it does that first. Otherwise, what it's going to do is just divide this one by 3, and then the operators are going to do the addition. So now if I press play, you'll see that it works just fine. So 3, 2, and 3, and the average is what we expect it to be. So those are some common problems, and that's how we overcome those common problems. A couple things we did here. We looked at the scope of a variable. The scope of the variable is that the variable outside of a subroutine, as soon as you hit end sub, any variables inside the sub are going to be erased. And we also looked at some common programming problems where students might misspell a variable, and I didn't do that properly. Let me show you that one. If I misspell a variable, I'll put the O and the thing backwards. Visual Basic will actually stop us pretty early on that, and we won't actually have that as a problem. But in the past, other versions sometimes wouldn't. And so this version does correct that.